prevalent topics in staffing and business. Stripping it back to a human point of view, from diversity and inclusion to branding, business strategy, we're opening every door. Brought to you by Kate and Maria at MA. Hello and welcome to our first ever episode of the podcast. Today, obviously, the topic that we are discussing is relative to the fact that coming up this week we have International Women's Day, and I thought it'd be really good as the first topic to discuss about obviously diversity in the workplace and in recruitment. Obviously, we are a recruitment business, but also see specifically about gender diversity with the fact that it's International Women's Day. And with us today to discuss the topic, we have two lovely ladies with us, Krisha and Val. If you want to introduce yourselves to the camera.
Sure, I'm Krisha, and I'm the head of transformation projects at MA.
Hi, I'm Valerie. I'm the project solution manager at MA.
Nice to have you with us, ladies.
Thank you.
So obviously we have you ladies in because you have predominant roles within the organisation, and I think your contrast in your careers are really interesting for us to have you in the room, especially with alongside myself and Maria. Obviously, we're part of the younger generation. No offence to you ladies. You obviously look very good for your age. And obviously, we have contrasts in the way that your careers have gone. So maybe you can sort of discuss about where you've come in your career and how you got into recruitment in the first place.
Sure. So I guess I had a few very different jobs, and then the one that I guess led me into recruitment was my uncle was setting up a digital agency, or whatever they called it in those days, in the Caribbean, and asked me if I wanted to go out and work with him. It was out of university and only done it one job before that, and it was like, sounds like fun. So I went over and was building websites. There was no Google in those days, so the only way you'd find this website is through the business card that they would give you before.
I can't imagine life without Google.
And yes, we built flat websites that could be seen only at a certain size, and that probably in today's world look ghastly. Yeah. That then made me realise that I should probably start thinking about a career and getting formal about it, and the Caribbean was not the right place for that. There was just too much wrong. It took me over to London. So I came back and I was looking for a job, and I ended up getting a position with a web agency that focused on the recruitment market.
Nice. And Val, what about you?
So me, different story, obviously. I started 17 years ago in recruitment. Entry level. I just wanted a change of my very young career, because I was working in fashion before, and it was I thought a very superficial industry, and I wanted something a bit more tangible, and also I wanted to work in sales. And recruitment was one of those industries, and still is actually, where you could jump in, prove yourself, prove that you were, good at the job, but you were given a chance at the beginning without the experience. So that's how I joined recruitment, because I wanted to do sales and money.
It's interesting to know, obviously, that you moved from fashion industry, which obviously would normally be every woman's dream, really, right? To go into fashion where, it's probably iconic, but it's such a female-dominated industry.
It is.
And that you hated that so much that, well, not hated, that's a strong word. You disliked it.
Yes.
And it wasn't for you, it's not for everyone. Other people love it and thrive in it. But you then decided to move to almost the complete opposite, and go to what is notoriously definitely back in the, in those times, obviously, it was male dominated, and obviously we've experienced, and it probably still is now. I certainly saw recruitment still as a male dominated industry. So it's interesting to see that you took that step into that type of industry, even though that, it was more the sales side that you wanted to go to.
Yeah.
But, as I said, with the whole going from female dominated to male dominated, as I said, with the topic for this year, it being each for equal, it's really interesting to know whether you ladies obviously coming into recruitment. Obviously, you said you were here for 17 years, and I just want to point out, obviously, that you've been with MA for those 17 years.
Yeah, duration. Yeah.
Which is incredible. That whether you actually had any challenges as a female coming into such a male-dominated industry, and the differences between obviously you being with one company for so long and having that experience of being in an industry with one single company, and obviously Krisha with you obviously coming in and having a completely different experience and going into different companies. So were there any specific challenges that you would say for sure were because you were a female as coming into that industry?
Yeah, well, there's the one that springs to mind is a comment when I was I was invited to a supplier forum by a client, and it was about 50-60 people in the place, and there was only 2 women suppliers. So
wow.
That was me, and there was this other lady, and then a comment that didn't ruin the day, but made me think, oh, really, is that what we are, and that's all we are. Is one of the clients said to my main contact, "Oh, I understand why you do business with this company and this company," pointing at us, and we were the only 2 women in the room, and you're thinking, I hope there's more to me and to my company.
Was that a recent thing or more back?
No, that was a really long time ago. That was probably a good 12 years ago.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess from my side, I had a similar situation when I was 26. So I'd been working for a couple of years. I knew my stuff, and I always took it that I should always do more research before I went to see a client. And I'd been conversing with this client on email, and everything was great. We were working on their website. Then I was going in to present the website, and it was more of a, look what we've done. And I went in, and he goes, "Oh, you're a girl." And that just threw me back. It was just like, okay, right, so I'm a girl now. It wasn't you're a lady, it's you're a girl. And then it's like,
even nice.
yeah, I know. And then it was like, so what qualifications do you have? And it was just like, well, we've just developed your full website and I've managed the full process.
Oh my god.
But still, that was the question, and I had to validate my existence and why I could do this role suddenly at the end of a project. So I think that was something that stuck with me. But I guess rather than anything else, what it did is it just always made sure that I was better prepared than other people when I went into meetings.
Yeah.
Because I was the only woman at that who was a project manager at that time. So I always made sure I knew more than anyone else. So I'd understand the tech and I'd understand everything else sitting around it. So if I was ever cornered again, they could not say, "Oh, you're a woman."
This I think leads us to our next part of the conversation, where we are in recruitment. We're still seeing this kind of inequality, if we can call it inequality in recruitment, but we also seeing this in the technology industry that we're operating in. And as Val was saying in her situation, she was communicating with her clients, but in an industry where we see only 29% of women, and especially we only have 16% of these women being actually in leadership roles in technology. So what are your thoughts in terms of, okay, we may be making progression in recruitment in terms of maternity leaves and improving the average in terms of equality, but how are we seeing it in terms of who we work with, in our clients and our candidates, and again in industry where we see it's pretty much very male dominated?
So I guess I can't really talk about the clients and candidates because for a very long time my role's been more term. But I can talk about my experience when I joined MA. So I joined MA as a contractor. So I'd worked with David in the past. I was still contracting with a few other clients, and he had said, have you got a few spare days? So I started off, I think, on 2 days with MA. And the first day when I walked in, it was a total surprise because I had people talking in French around me, I had people talking in German, and it felt as if I was on holiday. It was amazing. I used to walk in and I used to get so happy when I walked in because I'd be in, bonjour, hola, and it was great. I was kind of like, oh la la, just needed my cocktail in my hand.
Oh yeah.
But I think when you look at the company, we've got huge diversity, and I think in every way. I think currently what our stats are, and again, this changes as with any recruitment company does. We're sitting at 47% females in the company.
It's crazy good.
But you kind of think, everything felt equal, and there was people from all parts of the world. It was a melting pot, and it was great.
Yeah.
I don't know how you've seen it.
The first thing you see is, like you said, the diversity in men, women, the diversity in terms of culture, in terms of religion, in terms of, possibly sexual orientation. So it's a really big mix. But then I guess when we look and dig a little bit deeper into the figures and see the stats about women in management.
That was the interesting thing. So the MD realised that the stats felt wrong. And so the directors have decided, well, maybe what we should do is actually look at it. And so Matt from HR had actually contacted us and said, why don't, we want to set up a forum. I think maybe we need to create a voice because women aren't staying here. And it's very similar to most other recruitment agencies out there that I've worked with. Women seem to leave. They don't hang in for the long haul and they don't reach leadership. I looked around the room and I said, I've seen this issue in other companies, but you just don't have an issue here.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I joined, that was the whole reason why I loved this company so much, because you walk in and it's literally so...
I wanted a cocktail.
Yeah, I was like, wow. No, but it's just, I've never seen a company so diverse and so, open to each individual as themselves. But yeah, so like you said, I just never saw it as a problem either.
So it's only when I looked at the stats and we broke them down. So we looked at the stats and then I did some research and I looked at the European stats and said, well, pretty much we are a European organisation. We don't only work in the UK. We've got a lot of work in France, we've got a lot of work in Spain, Italy, Belgium. So I looked at European stats to see how did we actually figure up. So in Europe, we realised 50% of the workforce was female. You kind of start breaking that down and it started saying, as you went through to actually go into leadership, only 33% were leaders. And for me, that was like, that's crazy. In a room of 10, it means you've only got 3 women representing. And that didn't feel right. It really didn't feel right. I then thought, well, that can't be the way we are. But unfortunately, our stats mirrored it. So 6% were female when we started off as a company. 50% split at entry and mid-level, still 50%. So you kind of think we're maintaining them for a little while, but the minute you're looking at leadership, it drops 30%.
Yeah.
So we're just under the European average. So that's when I think we realised we had to do something about it, and we couldn't just sit here and say, oh, those were our days, and this doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like you said, if you hadn't looked at that data, you would have just carried on and assumed that we were all good.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, you do generally look around, and if any other company is doing exactly the same as what we did before you started looking into the stats, no wonder a lot of companies figure out when they start to having to report on this stuff, that really they think they're actually in a much worse position than they thought they were. And a lot of companies obviously decide, okay, this is really bad, this looks bad on us, let's try and bury it or try and skew the data in any way as quickly as possible, i.e. bringing in more females, maybe at the lower level to help skew the overall results. But at the end of the day, what does that achieve? And I think the fact that the reason why I thought this was such a great topic for us to talk about was because we are very honest and we want to be honest about where we are in our journey to being diverse and inclusive, because we are such an inclusive company naturally. We feel that our figures still aren't perfect, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, and a lot of companies are going to face exactly the same issues. It's just the fact that you need to step up and do something about it. I just think it's
just being aware of the figures and the fact that there's a discrepancy
Yeah.
between what we thought we were and what we are. In reality, is the first step.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's always, once you realise that's the case, then there's measures to be implemented to sort this out.
That's how the Women's Forum was born.
Yes.
It was. So we kind of realised that we had to do something. So we did our initial kickoff that was kind of more wanting to hear what people thought. So we got a group together that was interesting because it was actually a few of the guys said, "But can I come?" And it's like, "Well, you can if you really want to." And we, over a lunch break, we sat down and went through what we thought was important, what people felt they needed help with. And from there, we've kicked off our first series of events that we're going to be doing, and it's all about finding your voice. So we're starting off with the imposter syndrome. I don't know if both of you have done your questionnaire.
I have, yeah, I've not done it. I did it as soon as you sent it through. But it's a good one to bring up, and I think it's a great topic for us to start as the first forum, because I think every woman, I don't know whether you felt it, but I've definitely felt it, having imposter syndrome. I kind of constantly feeling like I'm living a lie, and that, oh God, someone's going to, think I'm not good enough, and then I'm
someone
going to get
else can be
exposed.
better.
Yeah, and it really does. You have that struggle internally to try and give yourself that. No, it's fine. Like you're good. You're like get your confidence back, kind of thing. And I don't know.
Self-talk.
Yeah, you have to sort of look at yourself in the mirror and be like, you can. This is you. You're not lying, but
and you can do it.
Yeah. So no, it's a great topic, and I did the survey. I can't remember. What were the different ones that you can have?
So, depending on how you sat, you were either a perfectionist. So the perfectionist was more someone, I think I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I was the
perfectionist.
perfectionist. It was the first one.
There was a superhero.
There was the genius.
There was the genius.
There was one more.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I was a perfectionist when I did it. Have you done it?
I think it was a superhero. I was more a combination
want to do it.
Camille was also the superhero.
Oh, was she?
Yes.
You're so lucky. Felt so much better than a perfectionist.
I know. I feel like the perfectionist is like,
Yeah. Aiming too high and always, beating yourself up if you're not achieved.
Correct. But I think, everyone goes through that. So males go through it, females go through it, everyone goes through that. Kids going to school go through it. Am I good enough? I'm going to a new school. So it happens all the way through your life. I think the thing that we add on top is kind of the layer of makeup that we put on as well, that we kind of go in and you kind of armor up, as in, or at least I used to do that. I think I've now killed it a little bit, but I used to, when I was younger, have to go in and put on a face because I was a woman and I had to prove myself more than the men that I was worth having a place on the table. So I think that was the big change. So you had your imposter syndrome that was working in your head telling you you're not good enough. And then you had to put on a mask and you'd try to copy someone. So you'd try to copy a boss of yours that was normally a male.
Yeah.
And so you try to be you, but with the male's tone to you.
Yeah,
It was just
never
so
going to be you.
hard. It was so hard. You'd go home and wash your face and be like, oh, I can breathe again.
Theater's over.
Yeah, it was. You'd have to act your part. It would be like, breathe in you go. Let's play this game. And that wasn't new. It was really hard. And I think there still are people that are having to do that. And that's where you've got to stop. Whether all these amazing ladies we have in the company stay with us or go off and do other incredible things, it's about ensuring that they understand their worth. And they understand that they're doing their job because they're worth it, and there's no one else that can do their job better than them. And I think that's what we just lack. I think you look around the room, and I always sit there thinking that someone can do my job. So anyone can do my job. I don't do anything that special.
I think it's really important that we're starting from a point where we talk about self-awareness first, rather than trying to educate men about how they need to respect women and how they need to change, and really putting it on them. I think it's really great approach that we're taking it from ourselves, understanding it from within, and taking really the initiative and the leadership and leading it by example.
I think we're doing it in two ways. So one is we've got the Women's Forum.
Yeah.
We've also got the Men's Health Forum, because mental health
Yeah, that's a great
and kind of
initiative.
trying to work with them and understand.
And then we also have Kaleidoscope, the diversity and inclusion committee, which I'm part of, which is, very good in terms of, explaining to all members of staff, all the different, so we started with the religions. We were also thinking about doing something specific about each country that's represented within Montreal Associate. So, like a cultural day on France, on Germany, on the Netherlands, on Italy, on Spain, on all those countries that are represented within the company, so that we raise awareness internally and hopefully can transfer it to our clients as well.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to bring up actually, is the fact that a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do internally is something that we see as a benefit also to our clients as well, and helping them see if we're practicing what we preach to them, then we can help do our job better in helping them to recruit more more diverse and inclusive, and the way that we approach things. If we can do that internally already, then that means our approach is naturally going to take that on, which is always good. But it would be interesting, going back to, obviously you were saying the Women's Forum was the first thing that came about alongside other initiatives. What were the main drivers behind those? What are the intentions that we expect to get out of those in terms of helping with, like you said, we have a lot of women, but we aren't necessarily maintaining them when we go up to a further level. So
it would be great if we could start changing the leadership committee.
Yeah.
So we had more females up there.
If we look at the stats, internally, where we have equality, then there are a lot younger ladies. So we thought with this forum that we could, with our experience, because we've been women in the business for a long time, if we could help them, with maybe our stories, our tips, and just, provide them with a safe and secure environment. Everything is behind closed doors. It's safe, it's secure. You can say anything you wish. What is said in the room stays in the room, and it's not about pointing out at who did what and everything. It's not kindergarten material, but I think if we equip those young ladies with what we didn't have because it was just not available, and if our experience can help them maybe not suffer the couple of hurdles that we might have had, then it can only be a beneficial forum for all these women.
Yeah, and I think as well with those, like you said, with trying to showcase the fact that I think particularly for you have a great platform for the rest of the women to listen to, because of the extent that you've been here for such a long period of time, and your story and reasons as to why you decided to stay. I don't know whether there's anything that you want to share today, other than obviously we're going to have the Women's Forum and that's going to be the topic, but it'd be nice to see what were the key things that stood out for you as to why this company to you is so important, and the reason why you're so loyal and you value being in this company.
Well, it's a mix of things, and I think the people that are part of the company and that have been part of the company for such a long time are a key factor. Also the fact that going back to the reason why I joined recruitment with no experience is I was given a chance. So I went from a resourcer role to sales recruiter role up to top biller, then got into management, which I always said I didn't want to get into because I didn't want to manage salespeople, but I ended up managing the delivery team, so the resources, and then always moving from one project to another, always learning something new, whether it was the technology or whether it was internally. I worked with legal and compliance, I worked with finance, so I think I'm kind of going 360
You
within
are
the company. I'm one of the many people and women in the company, but the fact that I never felt really limited.
Yeah, it's amazing to have that ability to be able to do.
But you have to work hard as well. It's not given to you.
Yeah.
It's.
But like you said,
merit.
if the opportunity's there, and you show that you want to take that opportunity and drive with it.
Yeah.
That this company allows you to give you that opportunity if you're willing to work for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's an amazing aspect to have, particularly in a recruitment company. And I think in experiences, I don't know, Fisher, obviously you've worked in different recruitment businesses, and I've worked in different recruitment businesses, and it's very much in and out kind of. It's almost like you have to fear for your job every day kind of thing. And I think it's nice to know that as long as you can prove yourself and have that self-motivation, then the value for you and your role and what you bring to the table is made known. And I think that's the most important thing, going back to females as well and the Women's Forum, and making people aware, like you were saying, I think anyone can do my job, but it's about saying, actually, no, it's because of you, the reason why you do that job, particularly in this way, that works so well for this business. So I think the Women's Forum is a great idea. And aside from that, I don't know whether we're doing anything else, or there are any things in the roadmap for others.
We do. So I think the Women's Forum was good because it meant that it gave people a voice.
Yeah.
And it also allowed to, I guess, share knowledge across different divisions and different areas of the business. We then also have, we've been working on our parental leave guidance and what we're doing on that side. So there's a lot that's happened there.
Yeah.
Our working from home, I'm a mother of two, and the key reason I'd become a contractor, so five years ago or something, I became a contractor, pretty longer. And the reason I became a contractor is because I didn't believe I could get a job doing something I was passionate about, but actually get a company willing to employ me to do it.
Yeah, sure.
But being a contractor, they were fine about it. And this is the double standard. So you could be a contractor and work from home and only go in for meetings, and the client was totally happy.
Yeah.
The minute you wanted to become a full-time employee, it's like, oh no, you have to sit, and this is your desk, and I need to see you every day. And the lovely thing about Montreal is I started as a contractor over here, and part of the reason was that's what I was doing, because that way I could always be there for my kids, and I felt that's what they needed. They needed me around. So I was a contractor, and then my line manager had actually said, he goes, why don't you become permanent? It's like, I'm not going to change. I don't want you to change. Yeah, I don't want you to change. Keep working the way you are, but at least you're not caught with IR35 then. So over a year ago I became a permanent employee. Nothing's changed. I still work the same way, and it's great. I think that's one of the advantages of coming out of Montreal. While we're kind of becoming a medium-sized organisation, there are still some of the benefits and the flexibility or agility that we have off a small company, and we're bringing them through. So we're not staying as a small company, we're building out the layers, we're building out our platforms, but we're keeping the one-to-one personal aspect where we know you're good, but we know you've got a family and you've got other commitments. So working from home until now has been more of a small thing that started happening, but one of the big projects I'm working on right now is actually allowing everyone to have that. We moved our technology to the cloud, we've moved our phone systems to the cloud. There's no reason someone needs to be sitting in an office to get their job done. And there's no reason why someone can't stop work, pick up their kids, bring them home, and then work again later. It's about working around people's lives as well. That's one of the beauties that we've got.
Deadlines, you're fine. And also, the flexibility at work is part of the well-being program that started in June last year, which covered so many subjects over the 6 months it happened. And I thought it was very beneficial for all the employees because there was the financial well-being, the eating habits, and all the tips that we could get from it, sport, everything. Mental well-being, the mental health talk was really this workshop was really interesting. So addressing all this within the company, having it, it's available
I think
All
we
of
still
us.
have yoga. We have meditation sessions once a week. So yeah.
And massage. Yeah, touching back on what you mentioned about the parental leave, like for me as a young woman, to be honest, this is something that absolutely terrifies me, because when you look at the trends, not just for our industry but in general for employment and how women progress in their career, if you look at the trend of men and women that don't have kids, their progression is exactly the same. Well, if you look at the chart where you see women that have kids and men that have kids, for men it's exactly the same again, but for women it drops drastically.
Yeah.
And then you have to kind of start over or start from a certain point where, and then having this flexibility and having the extended parental leave that we recently introduced to Montreal associates, and having this support from management and knowing that they understand, they're willing to support you, is something that is very, very important to know and to encourage our women in the company that are just in the beginning of their careers to know that they can progress here, they can grow, and they can move into management and leadership because they have that support. That is very crucial.
Yeah, it's definitely important. And I think as well, it's good to note that, I know obviously we're talking about, ensuring that we can encourage more females within the business, but I think it's also really relevant to bring up the fact that it's not always about the number and just making sure that you have enough females and that your data is saying that you have enough females.
It's not about data.
It's not about the data, it's more about the inclusivity actions that you do and the initiatives that you have within the business to make sure that the opportunities and the ability to progress is equal for both male and female. And I think that's what sometimes people get carried away and forget about, is that it's not about trying to put female in the spotlight and try and think about female and then forget about the male and then it becomes that odd spirit, and then you don't actually end up helping anything at all, because you end up then losing what's the most important thing, and the most important thing is the skills, right? Not the actual whether you're a woman or a man. So
priority will always go to skill regardless of gender, and as long as we can provide this environment where whether you're a man or a woman, you're given the same opportunities to do your job successfully, then that's what matters, because skills will always win.
And I guess I just wanted to finish obviously the podcast with something that we can give as inspiration to maybe what we're doing or what we aspire to be able to come to for maybe our clients or other recruitment businesses. Would there be anything that you would want to say to them about whether they're having the same problems as us? Maybe because you talk about, as an internal point of view, and then Val, obviously from a client perspective, what maybe some of the companies that we work with that we know have issues with diversity, specifically, as you said, within the technology sector, is another industry alongside recruitment that have a particular discrepancy between female and male. Is there anything that you would want to say to them?
I think we're still in the beginning stages of our journey, so I think it's hard for us to kind of say we've nailed it. It happens, we've just identified that we have got a huge problem, and it's something that we have to work on, because it's about helping those women get to leadership and making sure that it is even, and they can be a mother and still be in leadership and not have to go set up their own company or do something external. So I don't think we're at the stage where we can give advice and stuff, but what I do think is we can share our story, and we can be transparent about areas where we've fallen down or made a wrong decision, and I think those are things that we'd be happy to talk about.
Maybe then what you're saying is it's actually about the industry ourselves, as each company within each of the industry, to start being more honest and discuss this topic more openly, and so that we can all help each other out in terms of understanding where we are and what initiatives maybe another recruitment company has done compared to what we do, so we can go along this journey and ensure
Sharing knowledge.
ensure that the industry as a whole and that it improves. And as we've said, it has come a long way from what it used to be, but there's always room for huge improvement. And like we said, we're not perfect ourselves, and we've realised that we're not in a great position either, but let's all come together and try and work this
Tackle
out.
it,
Yeah. And in terms of the clients and companies, has there been any particular issues that clients have faced, and do we see that we want to start trying to maybe reflect what we're doing into, or are we not at that stage
You
yet?
know what? I think the only impact we can have is possibly within perm recruitment.
Yeah,
we do
sure.
contract and perm. Contracting, it's a skills game. You've got the skills, whether you're a man or a woman.
Yeah.
It's going to work out. But for perm, if our clients start to have, they have targets to increase the number of women in their business, then maybe we can help them out and explain to them what we've done. But again, I don't think we're just yet in the position to be advisors on this subject. But if we were to be, it would be more with our permanent division, where we could probably help the clients a bit more on this.
I believe when it comes to technology, it's a matter of really changing the culture, because I believe this is one of the areas where we still have the mindset of this is a woman's job and this is a man's job. And when you look at the skills available in the market and how they're divided, we have the closest we are to closing the gap in technology are in roles like project management or business analyst. And these are more widely accepted to be non-gender specific roles. Whereas when you look at developers or infrastructure architects, I still feel like they're perceived as more male jobs, and you have numbers like 16%, 90% of women having those positions and those skills in the market. So I really believe it's just a matter of talking about it and putting it out there as there is no thing as men's job and women's job.
Yeah, but that gets set from such a young age. I think if we're going
Education.
it's where there was a study done and a film done about it that maybe we can watch on our. I've actually got it. I bought it for the company. I can't remember the name. So it talks about the fact of how women used to be very much in tech because men had gone to war. And so most of our engineers and people that manage things were female. And then it talks about how that started moving on and how schools then was when the era happened. Because at a school level, you ended up having, they ended up putting things like computer science or coding at the same time as they put dance. Right? And so they started becoming this clash where, well, do I want to go to dance that I think is so cool and I love dancing, or do I want to go for computer science? And you started creating these gender stereotypical
Division.
kind of, classes based on how schools were actually placing lessons. So they were clashing. Do I want to be with my friends, or do I want to go do something I'm really passionate about? It's hard as a child. And it's still happening today. We talk about STEM and we talk about all of this. It is still happening today. You still start realizing, my daughter didn't join the Python club after school because it was all boys in there. Where choir art is apparently mostly girls and all her friends were there. So it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one, but I do think that's probably a challenge for another day.
It's a bigger one that the government have to take on. Let them take that on.
The government and parents, I know my daughter wanted to play the drums, and the little boy in her class said, "You can't play the drums. It's a boy's instrument." And it was just like,
But my daughter's school, she wanted, I think in year 4, she wanted to join football, only to be told that the football club, because she didn't start before, was only for boys. So she had to give up or do a weekend thing. But it couldn't be an after school club because she didn't join young enough. But it sounds a bit ridiculous.
Like you said, I think it goes back to the whole culture. I think it's a slow process, and I think if you look back, back 20 odd years ago, God, it's become massively better in terms of the way that women are seen in business in generally, and just how they're treated and what roles we see women in now. But, give ourselves another 10, 20 years and that's going to be another drastic change when we look back. But I think it's always one of those processes that, like you said, there's so many factors that we have to consider. And as long as businesses are doing as much as they can to ensure that they have that equality there, then, talking about it as we have with the Women's Forum and things like that, as long as you've got something in place and you're doing something about it, that's the main thing at the end of the day. And But thank you very much.
No,
I think that sort of concludes
Thank you for your
everything. It's great to have you for our first ever episode.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll have you back soon sometime for another episode. But thank you very much.
That was great.
Thank you.